The city is a mouth that never closes. This city, slick with oil and rain, sings songs and sirens. Here it hums the foghorns at Ship Channel, echoes through 5th Ward and 3rd, across fields of pollen-stained concrete. Every street corner a new tongue, spitting stories of longing and flight, where shadows of storefronts whisper old songs, salsa and zydeco mingling with the clamor of a broken world. My mother hands me a bucket of water for the garden we've started on cracked asphalt, seeds we don't know the names of except by their hunger for sunlight. She tells me, always move forward, never step back. And in this language, I am always reaching, the long stretch of intertwined breaths tangled with broken English fragments, each word a shard slicing the sky into ribbons of unknown possibility.
From the heart of Houston, it's fun, it's engaging, it's Chattin' with Chelsea. She's daytime's new bestie. Here's your host, Chelsea Edwards. Come back to me.
Hey, besties. What a beautiful way to kick off our MLK Day show. Today, we are getting into some arts and activism. So you are going to hear more of that poem a little later. But did you know if the good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. were here today, he would be 96 years old. His iconic I Have a Dream speech from 1963 is still a dream we are working to achieve today. But has that dream changed in 2025? And with all that we have going on, how do we help build it? Well, we got a couple of local activists in the building today to help us with that, give us some guidance to where to start. But first, I want to introduce you to the Houston Youth Poet Laureate who opened the show. Come on out, Lucas Fang. Yes. Beautiful words, perfect for MLK Day. Thank you so much for coming to chat with Chelsea.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and it's an honor.
Yes, I cannot wait to hear the rest of your poem. It includes a lot about diversity in the city of Houston. But first, a lot of people don't know what a Youth Poet Laureate is, especially that we have one here in the city of Houston. So tell us about what you do.
So as the Houston Youth Poet Laureate, I represent and I uplift the youth creative writing programs in Houston. And so through my poetry, I hope to connect others and to also express myself in order to help bring together the writing community in Houston.
You do a lot of speaking engagements, a lot of shows, things like this, in the spotlight a lot.
Yes, I get to speak at readings, and I also plan to hold some workshops.
Very cool. How did you get this title?
So I got this title through the Writers in the Schools program. So actually, funnily enough, I knew about Writers in the Schools before I actually applied for the program, because I actually started my creative writing journey through Writers in the Schools because my mom took me to one of their creative writing programs when I was younger. And so the way I found out about this particular program, though, is that it's actually kind of funny. I was driving with my mom one day, and so I was looking through the window out of one of those cars, and so, you know, one of these like advertisement kiosks came up and said, "Do you want to be the next Houston Youth Poet Laureate?"
Oh, cool.
And so that's actually how I found out about it, and I was really excited by this opportunity. And so I checked out their website and the Writers in the Schools Instagram, and I found out that if selected, I would actually be able to collaborate with the Houston Public Library, the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, and the mayor himself, who I actually got to meet recently at the City Hall. And so super excited, I decided to go and I applied for the position. And so here I am today, and I'm extremely humbled to be able to speak before you as the Houston Youth Poet Laureate.
That is amazing. And now you have Taiwanese and Vietnamese in your heritage and your cultural background. How does that influence your poetry?
So my cultural heritage is a very important topic to my poetry and something that deeply inspires me. My mother is a refugee from the Vietnam War, and my father is a first-generation immigrant to this country. And so growing up in that environment, hearing their stories as people who came to this country and were truly able to make the United States and Houston a home is something that has really inspired me. And hearing about their challenges and all of their aspirations that has culminated in my journey today is something that is very important to me in my writing.
Now we know Dr. King inspired a lot of people with his words. How do you hope your poetry will help empower, especially the youth throughout our city and beyond, actually?
I hope that my poetry is able to inspire others, because while sometimes people believe that poetry might just be something for one to express themselves, and while it is, I believe that it is something that can also help to serve and connect to others. I believe something that's very important about poetry is expressing yourself, but also being able to meet other people, because writing is a way that you can learn a lot about a person. And so for people to be able to put their writing out there and express what they truly believe in and connect with others is something that I believe can inspire countless people, and something that has inspired me countless times today.
Yes, and that'll help open people's eyes to other cultures as well.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, so the poem that you started at the beginning of the show, tell us a little bit more about what that's about.
So the poem that I wrote today pays homage to Houston, my birth city, and it's about its incredible diversity and the resilience that you find in community in shared times of crisis and different events. And so I wrote this poem in mind with the dream of Martin Luther King. And so Martin Luther King believed a lot in about uplifting people and people connecting together. And with Houston being such a diverse city, I thought to myself, what would Martin Luther King say if he saw Houston today with all of the recent events and protests and unity? And I was wondering, would he think that his dream has been achieved, or would he think that we still have a long way to go? And through my poem, I express this, and I believe that through the shared community of Houston, through different events, no matter where people come from, as Houstonians, we always band together in times of crisis. And I believe that is something that is important to achieving his dream.
Great questions you were asking there. I want to hear the rest of this so we can hear the answers from you. I'm going to give you the floor. You're going to take us to commercial break. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Here, the bayou snakes through the city's torso, bloated with history and desire. We gather, all of us, on its banks with signs raised high, freedom and hope spelled out in cursive bruises. Last night, the student read from a megaphone beneath the glow of traffic lights, her voice a fist lifted to the sky, asking if the rain remembers the hands that built this city from bayou muck. There are days when the air is thick with promises and protest, when we march through streets that reflect like mirrors, chanting the names of those who didn't come home and for those who we're still fighting for. We speak, and the city listens. I think of my mother, who still dreams in another language, who folds napkins in her lap like small altars, her hands blessed by the scent of ashes and sweat, who taught me to light candles for those we've lost. This is how we do it, one foot in front of the other, side by side, chanting in tongues of fire and flood. Our voices rise like smoke signals, the city a mouth that never closes.
Work helping to build the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King into our daily lives. Well, here joining me, we've got two activists here to help with that. We've got Eugene Howard of Visionary Outreach Incorporated and Tiffany Scales, the arts advocate. Okay, so first, let's start off with what you all do when it comes to activism, and how did you get started, Eugene?
Well, what we do is Visionary Outreach is a group of innovative thinkers that want to make a more conducive environment for everyone to reach their goals and manifest their best, purest lives. Happiness, all those good things. Well, one of the ways we achieve that, we advocate with those who've been unjustly done, or if something's gone wrong at a school, or if you've had an unfortunate interaction with maybe law enforcement or a jury or a judge, we stand in the gap and try to advocate for those people. And we've been able to celebrate Juneteenth, and we're also celebrating Dr. King's Day, and we had a parade over the weekend.
Okay, thank you for having me a part of that parade. All right, we're gonna get to how you got started, but Tiffany, I want you to also talk about what you do.
So I am the arts advocate. I advocate the culmination and cultivation of creativity, utilizing therapeutic arts for those affected by trauma and grief. I began in 2008 after attending a workshop with Outspoken Bean and realizing how, when taking the funding from extracurricular activities for our youth, having access to art and music would be detrimental. And so one of the late great poets of our city, To Die For, aka Sean Johnson, we would host monthly open mics at Secret Word Cafe for kids to come and express themselves and let their families hear that they had something to say. And then from there, we just expounded to representation of artists and creatives in the city, and then helping them reach other platforms and expound on what they feel and how they can use their voices in an effective way.
Yes. So Eugene, how did you get started? Was there a calling for you as well?
Well, you know what, to be honest with you, it's in my blood. So I'm a 7th generation Texan. My great-great-great-great-grandfather, William Thompson, fought with Ulysses Grant to free us slaves. My family was the first free family to settle in Sugar Land, Texas after the Civil War. So it's a generational thing, and I believe something touched me One day years ago, it was a black young girl went missing. This is when Uber first became a thing, before society caught up and she got an Uber to the rodeo, and we didn't know what happened. The news reported it one day. It wasn't until a week later they gave an update, but I thought if she was a Sally or a Susan, it would have been on the 6 o'clock, the 12 o'clock, the 3 o'clock, the 5 o'clock. But it wasn't there, which made me realize there was a need and there was an emptiness. And so I thank God that he gave me the vision to move forward, to advocate for our people, because we are not where we're supposed to be, but we will get where we need to be.
Now you have both of your hands in a lot of different things, helping out the community. When it comes to the everyday person like myself, who has a full schedule, kids, all that, where do we start if we do maybe feel a calling? Like, oh, I see something, I should do something. What do you recommend?
Well, first of all, get registered to vote.
Okay,
and
number one.
So that takes no time. And unfortunately, in the state of Texas, you have to be registered 30 days prior to any said election. So it's January right now. Register today, so that way you're registered for the next 2 years at least. So if you want to start somewhere, you must make sure you're registered so your voice can be heard.
Tiffany, first steps for you.
In all honesty, rewriting the will is not necessary. I know for some it has been, because we've seen that emptiness in a space. But by this time, I would say you can look online, and if there's an interest area, Google that. Past the ads, you'll see some of the advocacy in that space, or you can trickle through social media. You can even look at the Grand Marshal of certain parades and see what advocacies that they've been involved in, or
and
your
she talks
local.
to people, right?
Absolutely,
right.
absolutely.
Yes.
Because when you engage and you connect in an organic way, something will spark, and from there you can stem out and reach plenty of opportunities.
So start with what interests you,
Yes,
what catches
absolutely.
your eye, and then you could grow from there. I like that. So are there ways that you see people be activists and contribute to their communities?
Being present at a celebration like a parade. We have a parade on this morning, you know, with celebrating the honor and the works of the king, but then you have celebrations that take place throughout the city. So if you go to the city calendar, you'll be able to see parades and rallies, and not just protests, but ways where you can express what you stand for in those spaces. From that, you'll be literally allowing yourself to support the organizations putting them together, because it's a very expensive and taxing process to prepare for celebrations. But that's where sponsors will see that we can rally together. That's where community sees what the economics can do when we put our dollars back in our pool, and you're allowing yourself to use your limited resources to really execute the stone soup process, right? You bring what you got, and then we can work together to see and feel and feed the others.
Yes, so bring what you have, even if it's just your presence,
Just yourself is enough.
that helps.
Absolutely.
Any cause.
Yes.
Okay. Any suggestions?
Yes, just like Dr. King said, since we're on this great day from the Birmingham jail, we need those who are silent to not be silent. That's something that you can do with your family, in your immediate area. When you hear the bigoted statements, when you hear those racist, those less than other statements, you can, in your own circle of friends, where you feel comfortable, like, hey, not today.
I'm glad you brought it back to Dr. King, because it's 2025 now. That speech from I Have a Dream, 1963. After all these decades, do you think that dream has changed? Especially now, we're in a digital age now.
Well, I would like to say we like to emphasize, and I agree with Dr. King's 1963 speech, but he lived 5 more years after that, and at the time of his death, he wasn't talking about a dream. He said his dream was turning into a nightmare. That was his quote, but what he was trying to do was advocate for a class system for all poor peoples, whether they be black, Hispanic, white, Chinese, every minority group, to go to Washington to get what we were owed. That is the true dream of Dr. King, is getting what we're owed by this country. Be true to what you said on paper. It's what Dr. King said. That would be my message.
Okay, yes, we are getting some support off the side here for that as well, Eugene. Okay, what about you, Tiffany, here in 2025?
You know, in 2025, I think it just transitions to I have a reality. I have an understanding that because I am and I can and I do, we will. And the advocacies that happen in that aspect is that we stand on their shoulders, those who are our forecomers and forefathers and mothers who have pushed past the limits of what was offered to them and reached for more. And now we have the opportunity, and I feel it's a necessity for us to reach back and move forward with those behind us. Because if we walk together, it just moves for a stronger wall, if you will, as opposed to continuing to repeat history, as opposed to acknowledging where we are right now. And where we are right now is in a state of need. We need our allies, we need our adversaries, but we also need the presence of acknowledgement that between these two spaces is a commonality. We deserve to enjoy our experience, and that's where we can agree.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, we want to hear more from you, Tiffany, as well, because you are a freestyle poet.
Yes.
Okay, all right, we're going to give you some words and see where you go with it.
Yeah.
That's happening on Chatting with Chelsea. After this break, you guys, we'll be right back. Back with the arts advocate Tiffany Scales, who has another title, the word matician, because you do freestyling in front of hundreds of folks. Often they just give you words, like in the audience, they just throw words at you and you create poetry off of that. Okay, all right. Well, my producer threw some words on some papers, so we're gonna check your skills. You can reach in and select, and we'll just flow from there. Okay, all right, here we go. The first flow session on Chat with Chelsea.
Oh, come on. Y'all ready?
Yeah. Let's see, what are the words?
1, 2, 3. Take a deep breath in. Slowly exhale. There is joy in music. The way contusions of our bruised hearts are always able to pick apart the lesson of a message when we hear the sound of purple rain on screens or melodies played, because we know the artist formerly known as the things that we would entitle to be held with crowns. We can hear the sound of life and truly understand what it was like to be standing in the rain on bikes, thinking that we had no idea what Apollonia could do, but hopefully love will find you to a space and degree to where you realize purple rain is the way you can acknowledge the color of purple and truly give thanks for the grace that paints you.
Wait, let me see. Oh my gosh, you got my producer in the ear talking about, oh my gosh. So what, of course, she put Purple Rain on this because she is a huge Prince fan. So that's how we got Purple Rain on that. Oh, she did that indeed. Okay, that was good. All right.
How about 2?
Let me shake it up a little bit more. Okay, all right. Let's pull another little something. I like this. There you go. And you usually prep everybody? You tell everybody?
Yeah, so the breathing helps to get us in sync. Otherwise, my empathetic behind will hear and feel everybody's energy. And then I go too fast.
Oh, okay.
So when I'm speaking, it's best interest for you to actually breathe while you listen.
Okay.
Just as I would suggest when you listen to Twist O' Rain. That way you can catch the vibe.
Yes, I love the vibe. All right, I wouldn't mind doing that again. Deep breath in.
Slowly exhale. In true form of artivism, where we take the creativity of our minds and our hands, the servitude that we allow ourselves to prevail, we truly understand what being of service means. To hold space, to stand in place, and to allow our minds and our hearts to align with those who have come to be, let alone those who fight to be themselves. It's our hope that they can do so unapologetically by telling their truth, as we learn with the Truth Project and all the organizations in this city who are all cultivating the magic, like the Arts Advocate, and how we continue to cultivate these spaces of understanding what it means to truly understand how we bring life together. Because strangers will literally watch you walk past, but when you allow your arms to be open to receive them, they may pass with the openness too, of being able to connect and themselves be in turn of service.
Let me see what the word, I'm sorry. Oh, being of service. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. How did you hone this skill?
I have been a spoken word poet in Houston. This is my 23rd year. I've been writing since I was 5. And initially, I only would speak at school, like poetry and politics with Mama Neff and the students from Prairie View NTSU that would hide in the library after 5 to create and talk about the truth. And when I started going to open mics outside of the city, I was hearing the opinions of folk who didn't always speak of us very well. And it upset me. So one day I decided I was going to get on the mic and respond to it. And I spent a year doing that, firing back And I didn't necessarily realize what I was doing, as opposed to like, oh, that's a poem or she got bars. Like, no, I'm telling you how I feel about it. But when I realized that I could do it and engage a room where, you know, popcorn poetry would birth, and I could have a room full of people and they would just spew out the words that hit their spirit, and I could give them what they got. Or speaking at my church, St. John's downtown, and allowing the theme of the message or just whatever was conveyed through my prophetic skills, allowing me to expound on the ways in which words can heal. Wow. I do it, and I speak like that pretty much in all my conversations. But on a mic, my voice is amplified, and my activism is more effective because instead of the one-on-ones, I can reach them too.
Well, you certainly have bars, as we've witnessed here today. Do we have time for one more now, Lisa? We've got time for one more, okay? Let's do it one more time.
Oop, I got it. Take a deep breath.
Okay.
Slowly exhale. I wrote on my vision board a couple years ago. I was invited to your show, and I brought handheld mirrors because I thought it was so important for people to have their vision within reach. And I realized in that instant God blessed me with something so beautiful. For 20 years, I've been telling people, take a deep breath in and slowly exhale. And I can truly stand in the space and testify that it's what the world needs, to breathe. In for 3, out for 7, and truly concede that statement, because the clarity that comes, the peace that's instilled, and the ability to get through what we go through, grief, trauma, hardship, and the unknown, we are here because we breathe. And that is what the world needs.
I think I know what the word is, but I want to make sure. What the world needs. That is good stuff. Tiff, thanks so much. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our final thoughts. I want to thank my guests for joining me for this very first MLK Day show on Chatting with Chelsea. You guys keep up with us at Chelsea Show Fox on social media. And remember, on this day of service, start with what interests you. And sometimes that just means showing up, right? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll see you on the next Chatting with Chelsea.